Two picks go by and not one of them is the Galio as well. Being able to put that in the hands of Xie, that is terrifying. But here we go, champion select for game number 2. The adaptation needs to start here. So Young Generation with blue side theoretical advantage based on how easy WE made game number 1 look. See whether they can make it work to their favor. And Rek'Sai going to be taken away once again here by WE. And the Xayah, a lot of respect given to Mystic, and things haven't really changed too much as far as the draft.
Yeah, of course, the Syndra ban is something that we're looking at for Team WE if they want to take that one away. You've got the Sejuani ban, decent ban, just a strong champion. It means they don't want to first pick their jungle or first pick Sejuani in specific. It might actually mean they want to pick the J4 for themselves, and Team WE then have to answer with what do we want to take away from them and prevent them from perhaps having that? Or is the Kog'Maw too big of a threat? We just won with it. There's so many strong choices for them.
Well, the Jarvan is going to be banned away, and the Galio is looked at as well. So the entire combo that WE relied on in the early game certainly not going to be working here, and they will need to change up the strategy. Lulu being considered as that first pick, and I wouldn't have necessarily considered the Lulu as first pickable before the play-in stage started, but she certainly has been allowing bottom lanes to snowball quite effectively. And even though the Varus Lulu didn't work last time around, certainly has worked previously.
Classic LPL signs on your screen for the record as Lulu was in fact locked in. Now, it in part denies the Kog-Lulu combo for Team WE being on red side, being able to pick 2 champions at once in their first rotation. Xayah's already banned, so it also removes the Xayah Rakan duo combo. Kallista's gone. So again, all the bottom lane 2v2s that they could pick in one go, in one fell swoop and take away are removed. You look at Team WE, already changing up their strategies here, and ultimately I still like this.
Yeah, well, Maokai, 957 going back to, oh no, I'm not going to say it. Going back to an old staple of his towards the top side of the map. We'll see where Condi is going to go, whether he decides to pick something for Mystic or something for himself, and it looks like the AD carry is the pick of choice.
Now this is curious because the Tristana is almost a Mystic special of the past few weeks of the LPL just before they came to Worlds itself, and ultimately it means it leaves open the Kog'Maw for Big Koro to play. Now, if they want to lock in that 2v2, that is outstandingly strong. We know it can be very successful, and they can pick any other champion they want around that. Team WE's response is likely going to be the Alistar in the support role if they want to try and keep that down, because Tristana usually pairs up well with it.
Well, it looks like Young Generation not wanting to change their composition at all. They've got the bans where they need them to be. The Galio and Jarvan no longer a threat to watch out for, and they're just going to see whether what they planned last time is going to work out here against WE round 2.
Yeah, now Varus is still going to be locked in for Big Koro. Might just be a comfort champion that he wants to stick to, doesn't want to get uncomfortable and pick something like the Kog'Maw. We have to look at that and explore how they're going to go in the 2v2 as the game kicks off. They still have a lot of lane controllers. There's Condi in the jungle.
Yep, they're going for it once again. Does mean that Xie can now feel free to head towards a tank in the mid lane if he wants to. It's not going to be the Galio, but it could be something else. A little bit more of the tanky stats, because having 2 of these carries from multiple areas is going to be useful here for WE. Not entirely sure what Xie could potentially go towards, but Gragas is going to be taken away from Venus. It's going to be the jungle pool that's going to get hit, so he hasn't decided to take one away just yet.
May just be something like the Orianna if they want to fully commit to, you know, just giving shields to the million carries that Team WE will eventually have for themselves. Champions like Taric are still going to be there to enable all of the comp that Team WE have got for themselves to excel. Young Generation are starting to ban supports away. The other one is Braum. Now, if you've got an Ezreal and a Tristana and Braum as your support, with a Maokai as well, they can dive bottom at level 3 if they want. They can just dive whenever because Braum empowers auto attackers and they have a lot of them.
Yeah, and the Thresh is the one that's going to be banned away here. So Braum, like you said, certainly going to be available, and WE probably looking to lock away a support, get themselves a counter pick potentially for that mid lane, but Janna another option. Adds to that disengage as well. Bramble Smash and the Buster Shot certainly there.
Yeah, Janna's always going to be a good option when you've got Tristana as the hyper carry. Lulu taken away means they can be the shield-based Ardent Sensi user. Now, this does also alleviate a lot of pressure that YG would have had against them in the bottom lane. So their 2v2 is unlocked to just control it as best they can. Poke, push, take down structures. Now the rest of the map to be secured.
Well, the Syndra not going to get banned away. Venus as well going to immediately lock in the Lee Sin. 100% win rate so far. Of course, sample size of 1 here in the play-ins, but hasn't actually died on the Blind Monk in the jungle. And this is going to be the change-up. Just more comfort added to Young Generation's lineup. And I like it because it's a lot of extra power in these lanes. Nocti going to be on the same Cho'Gath once again, but of course has already secured a victory on that one in the second day for Young Generation's play here in the play-ins. And Noel, despite the 0-2 scoreline for the Syndra, certainly did look good. And we got a triple 80 carry comp coming out from WE, but I guess 80% of Corki's auto attacks is going to be magic damage, so it does make some sense.
I mean, the damage is mixed.
I thought this might happen. Does this like create this Ardent Sensor Monsoon destruction situation where you get to empower 380 carries with a Monsoon? They're just sitting there shooting out of it?
I mean, if that's how it plays out, then yes, absolutely.
That'd
it could be a
cool
death bowl of attack speed and healing that Ben's able to provide for the team. Mystic right now may want to change summoner spells, so we're going to be running with 2 heals as well.
What's wrong with double heal?
Oh, there's not a lot wrong with it. There's just better. if we, But ultimately, yeah, they've gone for 380 carries. They've gone for 1 tank. And this is why I actually still brought up Braum perhaps as a better option. It's a support that can be a tank that can empower auto-attacking compositions, but can do a lot of other things, and most importantly being that second frontliner, that second tank member. Janna's going to keep the carries alive. But the way I see this is they probably need to get ahead early here, Team WE, to snowball the composition. Because if you fall behind against a Lulu Varus and a Cho'Gath, most importantly, you'll probably just get popped every time a team fight happens, let alone Syndra and Lee Sin, 2 very good snowball champions that can one-hit carries with that Syndra outplay button that she has on her keyboard. The fact that Lee Sin can pick single targets off.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether Venus is going to be able to get things done in the early game, because we know that Condi is going to be moving around the map as quickly as he possibly can, trying to affect these lanes as fast as possible. So loading up here towards Summoner's Rift for game number 2. WE wanting to try and set themselves up for match point here in Wuhan. Home crowd advantage, but also the home crowd disadvantage of all of that pressure that WE do have on them. If game 1 is anything to go by, though, not looking too worried about the situation whatsoever, because it was domination to start things off.
Crowd just going off.
Yeah.
Of course, wishing their team luck. Frostgoon has mentioned what it means an awful lot already. It's a great word, though. And so we'll watch as they slowly pan out on the Summoner's Rift. Again, we mentioned the early strength. Well, right now, WE's bottom lane in the 2v2. Ben and Mystic, I mean, they've gone for the Targods, they've gone for the coin, they're going to try and just hold on for their lives. Tristana has a decent amount of wave clear, so relative to what a Varus and a Lulu will output, they'll probably still push WE under the turret, they just won't have as many minions to threaten the structure itself with. You're looking at the junglers once again as the big priority. The early pressure Lee Sin, almost forced, because Ezreal was there. You have to respond to an Ezreal with an aggressive jungler, or you're most likely just going to lose tempo in the jungle, and then pretty much just lose out on the first gank, lose the game.
Yeah, if we remember back to WE versus Lion, one of the other options was going towards that Kha'Zix, and works out in a similar way. You know, get that early game pressure and try and camp him out. And if you face check the Lee Sin once he picks up a red buff in a couple of levels, will be very scary for Condi. Question is what they're going to be able to do this time. It is going to be the red buff start, but will it be a level 2 gank, something like that?
Perhaps.
And which lane is he going to head towards as well? Because,
well, right now,
yeah, looks like top could be the option.
He's actually about to find him at the bush. They're about to spot each other.
Oh my goodness, Nocti already using the flash, and the red buff is there. Condi just going to move straight back into the brush.
Condi could have flashed. Like, they could have went for that kill if they really wanted to pressure it, but Condi holds on. He knows the blue buff's about to be shown as missing, but what Young Generation have done smartly on the opposite side is they've warded the enemy blue buff. Process of elimination now with the rest of these wards that Condi is carefully and expertly skirting around. He is just hard committing to ganks.
Yeah, lane after lane here. Really good scat of the week, though, as Noel gets Condi out of the way. Condi not going to be too worried about it, just going to leech some XP.
Yeah.
Move himself over towards his blue side.
Now, Young Generation have survived both of these ganks. You've got a flash use in the top lane, absolutely nothing used but a bit of mana in the middle lane. So ultimately, they come out ahead. Team WE take a big risk to go for those ganks. And now we watch as they slowly try and get back into the jungle. But look at Condi. He knows that his blue buff's going to be pressured out. Has no vision he can place down there. Because once again, the bottom lane of WE are losing. So he just stays top. Yeah. He's just going to stay at one CSL game.
Well, thankfully it's the right CS, as they do get a ward in this brush. The red buff is there, and Condi looking for the first blood. Should be able to get it as the rupture at least lands. Nocti doing a bunch of work, but first blood does go to 957.
Lots of damage coming out of Condi. Also saves his Q for the moment. The Twisted Advance connects. And Condi, as he walks through, 2 CS now, as he steals one away from 957. They will still get themselves that first blood. And a nice little buffer of gold going towards the team. Venus is still really much like haunting his jungle.
Yeah, going to be able to take away the blue buff. The wolves are going to be stolen as well. Xie, not a lot he can do against the Lee Sin.
And a 2-level advantage, most importantly, for Venus as well. If we look at the race to 6, you would have to expect Lee Sin will win. Condi, very luckily, is going to have some catch-up experience bonuses.
And look at these stats for Null. This is what I was talking about before. His Syndra's 0-2, basically a 5 KDA, and plus 22 CS at 15 minutes. This guy is lane dominant on this champion, despite how the games ended up on day number 1.
Yeah, and 682 damage per minute is by no means bad as well. It's just that he keeps losing these games. The first time we saw him play as Syndra wasn't great. The second time, though, was fantastic, as we'll get to watch what happens in the top lane. 957 wards, holds onto the Twisted Advance, as does Condi with his Q. Note that as he's stuck, that's when the Q goes out, maximizing the damage. Nice little dodge. Condi, of course, with the Grasp of the Undying and a minion wave hitting him, still loses an awful lot of his health.
Yep.
But ultimately, the correct play from Condi, I'm still calling it cheese, but the correct play.
Well, speaking of cheese, he's back there again, Rusty. No red buff this time.
Doesn't have a buff.
Yeah.
Nor does he have a blue buff. Venus has that.
Teleport from Xie is going to be used to get back into the mid lane.
What are you doing?
Venus now trying to get a gank underneath the turret here.
They're full health.
WE bottom side. Yeah, Safeguard's going to come in, but Mystic and Ben probably not too worried about this. They're just looking to try and get as much pressure on this outer turret as they possibly can.
And he may stay, actually. The Lee Sin might just want to hang around if their goal is to get the structure. There's no teleport, though, from Nocti. You'd have to feel like 957's well equipped to be able to come down and counter gank this, and they don't know where Condi is. It looks like they'll err to the side of caution. Cute little stuff there, though, from Venus. It's not a gank, but it's still successful if his goal was damage to the turret.
Yeah, and Condi actually able to catch himself back up as far as jungle minions are concerned. Don't let that confuse you, though, ladies and gentlemen. That was a Krug camp that he took, so inflated numbers as far as that is concerned, but does help as far as the catch-up experience is concerned. Condi abusing that just a little bit.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's only about 200 gold behind, so relative to Venus in the jungle comparison will be perfectly fine, Condi, considering the start.
Mystic having to be a little bit careful, accidentally cancels an auto attack there, means that the trade relatively even. Condi waiting in the wings. Pallet does need to be very careful. He's moving towards Condi now. The explosion of damage on top of the Lulu, who's looking for Ben. The Ignite shouldn't be enough as he has popped that potion as well. Venus, bit of a love tap from the Mystic shot, and WE get themselves out with a kill.
Pallet, knowing there was no way out in that situation, goes forwards, doesn't use the flash to try and get overly aggressive for a kill, though. Knows the limits and knows that he's just going to be a sacrifice for the cause. Team WE, well, Condi in the correct place at the correct time, using the control ward vision that was already established, get themselves a second kill. Young Generation's jungler, Venus, definitely not playing the gank game as well.
Yeah, and this is the danger. Of course, Condi, we knew that he wanted to get the ganks off, and Young Generation also knew that Condi would be not focusing on farming, he's focusing on getting his lanes ahead where he can, and he has actually been able to do that thus far. 957 with this minion wave pushing forward. Nocti able to farm, absolutely fine, but 957 also will be able to get himself into a great position, and it's important that that one tank is going to be able to get the work done. But now you can see Null moving towards the bottom lane.
And the Lee Sin, there is a chance that the turret is the focus. If a kill comes out, they're happy for it.
Oh, that scat of the week was amazing. The ultimate comes out from Null, all too easily locks down the kill onto Ben, and Mystic just getting escorted up this lane. The flash comes in, and Venus is going to follow Mystic through an orbs thrown at him, and that's going to be the double for Null. Bottom lane destroyed of WE.
First turret goes down, 2 big kills going over to Null, and suddenly it's a 1,000 gold lead that stretches out for Young Generation, and that's the beauty of this play. Also the Infernal Drake. All it takes is one good move to redirect the flow of this game. WE's momentum was just picks, just small details. Even Nocti taking away that blue buff
Well, Nature's Grasp is going to come in, and Condi wants to get this one away. Shie is going to be here as well as the Dragon falls in favor of Young Generation, but WE, they've got their eyes on the kills as Shie comes in with a Foss Bomb, all too easily takes that one down, and thankfully for 957, the turret is going to reset at the right time.
Yeah, good flash out from 957. They trade as far as kills are concerned, but they still lose that first turret. From the pushing 2v2, Young Generation will obviously swap that lane now. They'll send their bottom lane up to the top side, and they'll try and continue to repeat that strategy, this constant onslaught of just destroying structures, growing a gold advantage from these structures, and then turning that into a mid-game team fight when they get the big item spikes, ideally before their opponents of Team WE. We get to watch, of course, how Condi will lose himself a blue buff, has Smite.
The old Nocti walks up and yells at it.
At 5 HP.
Yeah.
That's what the blue buff was at. Tragic. Of course, this does sign his own death sentence in the end. It takes an awful long time to the point where Nocti can clear a minion wave, get a bit of extra health back. Still gonna die, but 957, he's got his flash. Twisted Advance doesn't actually reset the aggro, I believe, because they kill him before he can follow through with it.
Also, Nocti giving over the double buffs to 957 will make his own life harder. And to that end, they are going to switch up these lanes as well. Big Koro just wanting to push this one through, and that outer turret falling on the bottom side. First up here for Young Generation means that WE a little bit behind the 8-ball, and as far as tempo is concerned, that play for Young Generation really did turn things around. WE grabbing themselves back that gold advantage based on their earlier kills. But as far as map play is concerned, Young Generation back in the forefront.
Yeah, they certainly are. Of course, the trade was done by WE just then, though. The fact that they're trying to push top lane expected from Young Generation, WE are the ones that do the unexpected.
Like shooting blast cones for
like
no
just
reason.
blast coding your own teammate back into the red buff.
Yep.
It's also very difficult to siege against 957 when he's got the blue buff, when he's got the red for health regeneration between minion waves that are crashing as well. The blessing in disguise is the fact that 957's able to pick up those buffs. They're gone now, but he's been able to hold onto this top lane for such a protracted period of time. It's given WE the ability to rotate now, as he's
Yeah, he's not too worried about this whole situation.
thinks he's the king of the castle.
He's got a bunch of items. Ultimate does eventually come down as Nature's Grasp. Don't think it'll be enough as he gets himself back in there. Wild Growth just to make sure that the tree dies. And Mystic, has he turned up in time is the question. Big kickback as the Polymorph comes in at the same time. And Mystic on the wrong side of this fight. Condi now bashed on and destroyed by Null in the jungle. And Young Generation looking to turn the tide in this series.
Does Condi show up on time? Does Mystic show up on time? Yes, for a kick in the face. And he's going to die as Young Generation will get themselves another structure, but most importantly, all of those kills. 957, Condi and Mystic go down. Very well played from the side, just standard League of Legends from YG. And finally, the craziness that WE are throwing at them backfires heavily.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like disrespect. I mean, based on this composition, this triple AD carry comp, it's not exactly your standard League of Legends that we've seen from WE so far. 957 actually full disrespect, as he wasn't expecting just to be taken down in this 2v2.
Level down, not really capable of getting the kill onto Pallet. Finds himself next to Big Koro, who still had his heal. Ben, of course, has to use the Monsoon to get him out, but meanwhile, Null is going to absolutely obliterate Condi, and you'd have to imagine, just by being 2-0 already, can pretty much one-hit him. Yeah, look at the moves, the mechanics.
Hey, that was actually pretty good, though. That was blind, and then it got the Q over the wall. Unfortunately for Condi, the Arcane Shift still not enough as far as escaping the stun.
I actually didn't mean that one sarcastically for the first time
right.
ever watching Syndra. I love the assumed knowledge as well, because it is a Syndra. That was good.
It was. Extremely good. Does mean that Young Generation now close to a 2,000 gold lead. Nocti going to throw out the Righteous Glory, but Shie counters that.
Teleporting. Lots of respect shown to the Young Generation roster. The fact that they look at mid lane, Nocti just pops the Righteous Glory and sprints at Shie. Suddenly they're teleporting to help him. But I mean, the teleport's now gone, so correct response. We're looking at macro from YG once again.
Yep, well, both of them are actually gone, as Shie is going to teleport back to the mid lane. Nothing they can do about this Rift Herald being taken down. Game number one, it was WE taking that extraordinarily easily. Now at 13 minutes into this game, it's Young Generation with the control.
Last time we saw a lead like this, a team beating Team WE, somehow they managed to keep themselves with a gold advantage. And that was Lion.
Yeah.
Of course, now Young Generation, very good at using leads, very good at getting victories with those leads, has started to stretch one out, primarily though through their mid laner with 3 big kills. WE are going to have to try and pull out that mid-game macro that got them the wins against Lion to get this game going back in their favor. With all these AD carries, it's such an awkward draft, they are susceptible to being scaled against.
Well, Nature's Grasp going to go down just to secure this outer turret on the top side of the map. WE going back to playing Summoner's Rift as opposed to against Young Generation, which is what they're able to often utilize. Null, okay, going down relatively low. Yeah, Orb's getting thrown in. Xie not going to die from this one, and Null quite low as well. The rotation should be there from WE, and yeah, this will just be the outer turret falling down as soon as Harold gets one headbutt. See you later, turret.
Yeah, they'll get that turret. Also looking towards the bottom side of the Rift, Nocti has been putting a fair amount of damage down on this. 957 could have stood between those Vorpal spikes and the Cho'Gath and maybe made him tank the turret, but he's still going to lock it down.
Yeah, Miniwave actually turning up in the nick of time, but
Here comes
WE
everyone.
doing exactly the same thing. Nocti's been taking so much punishment
Oh my God.
so far as 5 members of WE punish the big Void machine on the bottom side.
Pretty big punish, to say the least.
Yeah.
Everybody's showing up, but who's going to help top lane if they're all going bottom? Who's going to help mid lane when it has a Rift Herald still pushing it in when Xie decides to recall and get a package?
Well, it just feels like that tempo advantage that Young Generation picked up earlier on in the game has not been overcome by WE so far. True Shot Barrage is going to come in just to try and clear out that minion wave, and WE are, against the flow of the game, going to take this Ocean Drake, but not as good as the Infernal that Young Generation picked up earlier on.
And you mentioned against the flow, absolutely the case, but of course the flow itself isn't all that significant. It's more than a trickle, but it's not going to be a full waterfall, basically, of how big a lead YGF got. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to keep talking my way through it. We'll get out to another end eventually. They don't have a snowball
That's
lead.
the joy of listening to you, my friend.
They don't, yeah, look, here we are.
He's had a long day. He's certainly had a long day. And I appreciate you being here, because otherwise it would be the Atlas solo cast situation, and no one wants that.
Atlas
no one wants that, I'm sure. Oh yeah, well, I think it'd be hilarious. However, Null setting himself up to try and take Condi down. Condi gonna have none of it. As he heads back home, Warrior Enchant is going to be on the cards, but does still need to get towards his Trinity Force.
But he has got the Warrior completed, and that is important, because when you look down the rest of the roster, the Infinity Edge is there for Mystic with the Ardent Sensor to support him and give that extra attack speed. You've got the Trinity Force there in the middle lane as well for Xie, and 957 with an amalgamation of mid-game items. Every type of resistance has now just completed his Ratchet's Glory. The second I mention his name, so thank you very much, 957.
Well played.
It means that even with a gold deficit, they've got power spikes. They've got the capability of fighting, yet at the same time, there are big power spikes for Young Generation. You don't want to discredit their current strength, because they are slightly ahead in those items to their respective opponents.
Big Crow actually going to change up his item build here as well, going for the Infinity Edge into Zeal item. Going to scale a lot better as far as those autos are concerned, adding that crit towards the build. As Xie possibly in trouble, as he's going to flash out of the way of Nocti. Rupture not going to land, the Feral Scream not going to land either. Young Generation going to have to walk away from the court.
Fancy footwork from Xie, but at the end of the day, he's not actually going to be dodging anything meaningful, as Nocti was just standing still and auto-attacking him. No!
Yeah, Condi needs to be careful.
Oh my God.
Okay, just not going to work as the kickback onto Mystic as he jumps himself over. 957 so deep as the Nature's Grasp comes in. He's looking for Null to try and take him down, and Xie going to get some revenge for the jungler. Mystic, such a massive shield actually coming in as Big Crow throws out the ultimate. Health bars are going so low as Null still landing the skills, and Big Crow just backing this one up. 957, he's not dying anytime soon, but they're out of damage. Pallet has the shields, he's got the heal, and that is going to be a huge team fight win for Young Generation.
Effectively the ace as Condi comes back to life after Null has blasted him earlier in the team fight, and suddenly Young Generation to push middle lane. Only got the 2 minions, but the next wave crashes and the gold lead grows for them further. They look fantastic in this second game. They are taking apart Team WE.
Yeah, it's looking brilliant. 5 turrets now to 2 in favor of Young Generation. That is going to spell 5,000 gold in the lead. So let's see how this goes, because it was very chaotic to start things off.
Null is level 11 as well, and though there's a lot of shields, there's a lot of healing from Ben, it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. Mystic, honestly, I have no idea how he survived through what is going to just be charging at him after this. Good stun. Nocti's there, and you're like, oh my god. Yeah, no, he's in a lot of trouble. Big Koro is about to find him and weaves the one possible direction that will keep him alive to be able to survive for that long, but still losing the fight in the end because Null is destroying everybody in the back lines. Big Koro can flash forwards and secure the kill in the end. And Xie, well, he's about to find himself inside the belly of Nocti. And he goes into the death chamber.
Delicious. Gentleman, Shogath. Not exactly a gentleman when he goes around eating people. Certainly working out here for Young Generation, though. Now, moving towards that 20-minute mark, I mean, it could be another story of a very early Baron.
Could be.
If Young Generation, who have all of the control that they could ever want on this top side of the map.
No Mountain Drakes, though. It's going to take a little bit longer to secure any kind of Barons. No Blade of the Ruined King builds.
Yeah, very true.
So the exact same thing applies, but there is the Liandry's for Null, if there's one big positive. So if the Syndra is hitting the Baron, that will help a lot in burning it down quickly.
Certainly does do a heck of a lot of damage, does Null. And knows exactly how much he can do as well. The cool guys don't look at explosions. Ultimates that he's been throwing out so far this game have certainly been working here for Young Generation. I have a feeling that in game number 3, they're not going to get their hands on this Syndra.
Now you will say, though, that opposed to going for the Baron just straight in, trying to take it in front of Team WE, either a pick or forcing them around the map is the better play ultimately from them. And so Nocti being bottom is good. He has the teleport there. They're pressuring top lane as well as hopefully resetting that middle lane. Also, they're doing the correct moves to continue to push this game further. And in 60 seconds, there will be an Infernal Drake, and it's the second for them. And so that's the place that I would be looking towards.
Does Null complete his Magi's Soul Stealer, Rusty? That's the real question. That's what we're all asking ourselves.
Does have 10 stacks.
Oh, yes.
If ever you were going to get a Magi's, it would be right now.
And he knows how well he does. Even in games that they lose, you know, 5 KDA, gigantic CS advantages. Doesn't have the CS advantage this time, but he's probably still feeling pretty damn good at 5-0-2 in comparison to the 2-1-1 that Xie's been able to put on the board. Still, yeah, not necessarily a game where you can count WE out.
No.
But Young Generation looking brilliant at this stage.
If there's one thing you know about WE is
package delivered as Null is in trouble. Condi doesn't find any Mystic shots though, and the ultimate once again going to launch itself towards Xie, not going to get stunned up.
That's a
by
deep
the scale of the week. Yeah, huge one coming out from Nocti, who's going to lumber towards the corner.
No.
Ominous, it just eats him round the corner. And now we've got a big problem for the Tristana. There's the alley-oop as Ben wants to try and keep him safe. Oh no, the slow comes in. Rupture not going to land. Remember, there is no feast there, but Venus, he's got some feet. He's just going to kick him in the head. And that is 2 quick picks under both of the carries for WE.
Almost comical to see Xie just walk around a corner and find himself a giant gentleman that will just destroy him in one hit. Yep, so they'll go straight towards the Baron. They're the picks that we're talking about before the objective is looked at. And right now you're looking at perhaps a steal from Condi. 957 can throw the March of the Kittens if he wishes.
Well, they're going to have to try and do something here as they're all standing behind the Baron. True shot below.
Oh,
he's going to take down Pallet and now gets himself towards the back of the pit. Their health bars are so low because it's and he steals away the Baron. Massive play from Condi, and the Monsoon keeps him alive afterwards. This could have been the turnaround WE were looking for, despite the fact that the gold isn't too much different.
And did he just get kicked to safety as well by Venus as if an afterthought? It's like, welcome back to the other side of the Baron pit. Enjoy your Baron buff and have a nice stay on Summoner's Rift. WE, I mean, they just put themselves back in the game from a situation where they absolutely should not be.
Yeah, that is a Baron steal into outer turret in the mid lane, into this Infernal Drake towards the bottom side. Mystic shoving things forward, and their minion waves are now cascading towards Young Generation. Oh, this is a disaster.
You stole my word. It is an absolute disaster. I was going to say that.
Well, you can say it as well. I mean, it just means that I'm right, which doesn't happen all that often, so I'm totally okay with it.
I mean, fortunately for Young Generation, it's still a 3,000 gold lead for them. So as far as disasters go, this is one of the better ones, that they still have the lead. But with a Baron buff there for Team WE, the opportunity to make plays now, control minion waves is going to be a thing as Xie.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to have very much fear. That is only Mercury's Tread's worth of magic resist as well.
I immediately looked for Hex Drinkers, and none of them are to be seen as Venus just finds it. But we get to watch, most importantly, this. The first thing you'll note is that everyone is standing in the back of the Baron pit. That is rule number 1 of taking Baron. Don't do that. The second rule is probably make sure that you kill the Smiter before you go for the play. You've got the Maokai ultimate and then the Smite battle. He somehow beats Elise in as Nocti's dead.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Well, WE also now going to invest a lot towards taking him down at the same time. Mystic's on his own trying to defend this inner turret. The last remaining one for WE on the top side. Big Koro probably going to be enough with Pallet here to try and pressure out this turret. So kill in favor of turret as far as WE. So probably still feeling fine. His bed's flashing on Null. Okay, that's aggressive. You probably don't want to be doing that, buddy, but she's going to turn up with a heck of a lot of the damage. 957 throws out some kittens, and that one's going to lock that one forward. He's still not done as he flashes into Big Koro, but the chains of corruption are there. Talisman is, sorry.
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah, the item comes down, and Venus now trying to run out of the way of this one. Safety now for Young Generation, but with Null dead, WE with all the control on the map. Righteous Glory escaped my brain entirely during that chase. Thankfully, nothing else going to go down, and WE just going to walk themselves out.
So did the Lee Sin, of course, manages to escape in the end, just barely. Maokai has a lot of tools to catch them, especially with that Righteous Glory. And Team WE get a pick bottom, they walk top lane, they still lose a turret in the end, and it feels like you've heard of the Reckless, right? Where suddenly the AD carry is just down in the bottom lane helping their top laner.
Yep.
It can be risky. WE are doing the 5-man Reckless. It feels like they're just all down there to kill Nocti. They're losing the rest of the map at the same time. But they've shrunk the gold difference to 1,000. That is significantly less than the 4 it was a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, we've got a big change actually coming in as far as item build. Big Koro going to grab a 3rd item, Guardian Angel, just to make sure he doesn't get exploded by WE.
He's against a lot of carries, so he wants to survive and be able to do damage in team fights. He's Nocti once again.
He's just not having a great time, as he always seems to be surrounded by WE players. Ben not going to get eaten this time, and Shea is going to be able to lock down the kill. 4, 2, and 2 now for the Corki. He's about to hit item spike number 3.
It makes you wonder what the Cho'Gath is doing, waddling up the river doing a scuttle crab, but at the same time,
he's hungry.
It makes you wonder more, so what is WE doing on the bottom side of the map when there's nothing to get there and they're not pushing their lanes? They get the picks. That's still what they're after, and now Cho'Gath's dead for 20 more seconds. They start to threaten. However,
no more Baron.
Needing to be said, there is someone pushing on the top lane that they have to answer eventually, and they choose to.
Is this that point that you had before about 80 carries just pushing things forward?
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. Well, Big Koro is going to get himself safely back after shoving it all the way through. Young Generation, remember, still have the kill lead, still have the gold lead by about 1,000. Grabbing an extra turret for themselves. The whole outer ring has been taken, and 4,000 gold is how much WE pulled back after that Baron was stolen away. And I feel like the Baron power play should actually come up under Young Generations, because they're the ones that started off this Baron. They're the ones that tried to go for that play. And it was WE reacting to it, getting the steal, Son of Baron himself taking that one away, and now here we are in a relatively tied up game. And it'll be so disappointing for Young Generation. They're not able to push this one through for a victory, because victory was so close for this team in the mid game.
Oh, you could taste it if you were Young Generation. And now it's a far closer game than they would have liked. They do still have the Lee Sin and the Syndra. And that Syndra is 5-1 against 380 carries. That's a very much pleasurable experience to find yourself on that point in a game.
You've only got one unleashed power though, Rusty. How are you supposed to kill all of them at once? Do you split the orbs? How do you do that?
Well, you can ult before you press Scatter the Weak as well.
Hey, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You can stun them all. And your W does true damage when you've got 5 kills. That's an awful lot of a carry's health bar regardless. But no, he's only going to be killing one person, Atlas, to be perfectly honest with you, and that's what he needs to do. Make it a 4v5. Yes, there'll still be 2 carries left, but there's one less damage threat, and you are still going to do damage even without the ultimate.
And Venus as well is going to be trying to disrupt as much as he possibly can. Nocti can probably kill someone on his own. And that is about all of the carries dealt with. If they can get this ideal team fight scenario. WE wanting to illustrate one themselves. As you got a QSS done for Condi, it's not going to help him if Noel's going to press his R button, but we'll be able to get away from some of these stuns that he's been otherwise incapable getting away from.
WE are very afraid to go near any side of the middle, actually. The river seems to be too dangerous for them. There's 10 seconds till the Cloud Drake and 30 till the Baron. It feels like WE are going to prioritize the Baron, but Young Generation will most likely take that free objective as you see them sprint down now.
Yep. Get a bit cloudy.
You'd say it's too dangerous for Team WE to walk in here at all, though.
They got a red buff to secure as well. Wonder which AD carry they give it to.
I would
Probably like it on Condi.
I would expect Mystic, but he's been side laning so often that maybe even Shie is better than Condi.
Hey, maybe.
Rapid fire cannon either way on him. Will definitely go to auto attacks off, but we know how Team WE works.
Yep.
We can speculate, but the answer's Mystic.
Pop behind Mystic is how it's done, as Noel looking for more. Now the Cloud Drake, actually, it is quite scary. Looking at this guy who now has the death cap.
In a weird way, I want to call it a poke composition that they've got, but I still can't really define it. They've just got a team
rockets and
composition.
mystic shots, things like that.
Yeah.
With the disengage, does make some sense with Ben there.
957's the real MVP of this game so far, though, for Team WE. Just being able to keep them in it at all, because honestly, I still expect them to lose this game with how it has been going, unless they get another one of those big plays that they shouldn't get.
Or another one of those big purple worms. They are hanging around now. 957 actually well and truly underneath the bottom inhibitor turret. Young Generation know exactly what is going on, so WE backing themselves out.
All it takes, though, is that one Cho'Gath flank, the silence hitting the correct targets, the Syndra killing someone, Lee Sin getting that kick. One member that we've seen be fairly not impactful on Summoner's Rift has been Venus. 1 or 2 nice kicks,
Yeah.
but he's never started anything off. He never got level 6 and immediately had that impact.
I feel like we're at that slump for the Lee Sin as well. Now we're getting towards the territory where he just needs to get that one good position, that one kick to end the game potentially, or at least get a good chunk out of the base of WE. It is just really scary compositionally for WE, just because they do have so many squishies. It's not just a front-to-back composition like we've been seeing them run. It's not the combo comp that we saw in game number 1. Definitely going to take some finesse if they want to navigate the fights correctly.
Absolutely. And the one thing they can do, however, is take Baron in about 3 seconds. Oh, yeah, nice. Take Baron in about 3 seconds. I was worried a sapling was going to take that.
Yeah, and at the same time as the blue buff went down, 957 kills award, so you think that he may have taken it, but doesn't. We're absolutely fine.
To get the inside track and to actually be able to contest for this Baron is one of the hardest things for them to do. They've got the vision now, Young Generation, they've just started it off. They will do it fairly quickly themselves. Condi's nearby, teleports are in.
Yeah, immediately going to come down. Condi jogs his way forward. It's a second steal. This time he's going to die, but who cares? They trade, in fact. It's a 1-for-1. Junglers are dead, but Condi, he's the one that reaps all the rewards.
This isn't fair for Young Generation. At least it exits the bit, and Condi's like,
his name is Son of Baron. Like, this is a known nickname for Condi, Rusty. Why do this?
Stop giving them opportunities to steal the Baron and doing it in vision.
You don't have to leash the Baron. I know they've got the home field advantage, but that's not what that means. Is yes, the Twisted Advance comes forward. I think Noel was there, but he's immediately evaporated. We've got a Tristana jumping forward. The Guardian Angel means that Varus is doing no damage, and eventually he's taken down. Mystic flashes through, wants to take down Paladins. There's the Buster Shot on top of the Cho'Gath.
Oh, they're still going.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab it. Triple kill comes down for the Tristana, and whoever doubted WE, I certainly didn't, as they are going to break open the base of Young Generation.
Honestly, in a game they should have lost Atlas. 3 people dead, 30 seconds, and they have got so many AD carries left. It looks like they'll be able to end this one, unless Venus and Palat pull out something special.
Yeah, that was completely ridiculous. There's the kickback onto Shie, but it just means that he can take more chunks out of this Lulu. Another Nature's Grasp comes in for 957 to make sure they can't get out of the fountain, and the Nexus gets taken down. It was even in kills at the end. WE arguably behind for the entire game, but now it's match point in this best of 5 for the home team.